should carry into the next week. The weekend looks wonderful. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Don't you?
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, so the Gamecocks lose in a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth last night, and Clemson loses in a walk-off in the top of the first last night. So not a good night for the baseball. As far as those two teams. Now, great night for the Citadel and a great night for Coastal Carolina.
Exactly.
And I just thought that was kind of interesting how the two teams lost their games. In South Carolina now they get to play Vanderbilt. You think they saw good pitching against Tennessee? Wait till they face Vanderbilt coming up for 3 games. And I think Clemson goes to – well, they play Winthrop. They're getting underway with Winthrop right now, so we'll stay on top of that. And then I think the Tigers go to – is it Pittsburgh this weekend? So maybe they can get healthy there. So we've had a really interesting day once again around here, as it is every stinking day here in South Carolina. We invite you to be a part of it, 888-898-2525. Just was on the phone with Corey Rucker, wide receiver, who visited South Carolina to transfer from Arkansas State. He is not, he said, the committed player that Shane Beamer sent the alert out for today. So that's 2, unless somebody has claimed it in the last 15, 20 minutes. Have y'all seen anything? You seen anything, Chris?
I have not.
So that's 2 that are pending this week that have gone out. And, we'll wait and see who comes forward. I have no idea who are the guys he's referring to in these respective commitment alerts, but he must have the commitments and feels good about them, and eventually somebody will claim them.
I will say this, as bad as Arkansas State was this past season, Corey Rucker would be a tremendous pickup for USC, was a very talented player for them, had 9 touchdowns for the Red Wolves last season. So on a team that was just terrible, he was actually one of their bright stars, if you will, and to lose him is bad for Arkansas State, but maybe really good for the Gamecocks.
Did you see him in person? Did Coastal play him?
Yes.
Did you
played them in that
watch him a little bit?
Well, when you're down, 59-0 about the second quarter of the game, the way it was, you got to see everybody for Arkansas State. I mean, that was the game. Coastal went out there and scored a 99-yard touchdown pass on the second play of the game to Isaiah Likely, and that sort of set the tone the rest of the way.
Yeah. All right. South Carolina Board of Trustees going to meet tomorrow at noon via Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever you want to call it.
Can they not get together in person anymore? Are we to the point that we're never going to have in-person meetings?
Well, I guess they figure this is just a rubber stamp, so it's just a matter of Ray Tanner presenting and of course I'm sure they already know what the contract terms are, so he just you have to go through the process and present publicly what those terms are, and they just have to vote on it and sign off on it, and then you have your official hire there of Lamont Paris, as South Carolina's new basketball coach. Tonight, here at 6:35, Jim Reynolds, the longtime voice of the Mocs, will join us to tell us more about Lamont Paris. And I was talking to Fran Halloran as he was walking out of the studio, the money coach. And Fran is from Chattanooga and knows a lot about Lamont Paris and holds him in high regard, says he is a really good coach. He's got a great personality. Says he goes on a radio show in Chattanooga once a week and does impersonations.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said. So we'll find out more about that from Jim Reynolds coming up at the bottom of the hour. We met with Gamecock football coaches again today. It was not coordinated. Well, we had one coordinator, Coach Limbo, the special teams coordinator. But
speaking of comedy.
He's a hoot now. He is. He is an absolute hoot. When you sit down to listen to him, bring your lunch because it's going to be a little while. But he's funny. But we heard from Justin Stepp, who feels very good about his receivers and the way that they have advanced and the additions they've made to the receivers' room. They are all high on Juice Wells. Got to get used to all these nicknames. Juice Wells and who else? What is? Yeah, Juju. I guess that is a nickname for him because he didn't think his first name is Roderick McDowell, Juju McDowell, and the others. So in fact, Limbo went over a complete list of nicknames he has for the various Gamecock players that he talks to. Yeah, taking their last names or their first names and turning them into little nicknames. But the mood over there seems to be very upbeat, very positive. Going to have a little bit of a Spencer Rattler for you tonight. And also, not heard from DJ Uyangalele this spring, and we'll hear from him. Some audio from earlier in spring for Clemson. Of course, the Tigers on spring break this week. They'll be getting back at it early part of next week. Outside of that, open for your phone calls, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk if you want to join us. Frank Martin appears to be in line now for the UMass job. Earlier today, he was not in line for that job. It looked like, according to reports, they were going to hire the guy from St. Bonaventure. But something happened there contractually, or St. Bonnie stepped up, or something happened, and that fell apart. And now Pete Thimel's reporting it's going to be Frank Martin.
He came on Sports Talk and yelled at you for living vicariously through social media. And lo and behold, it looks like you were right on Monday.
Yeah.
Corn spoke that into existence. Corn, the prognosticator at this point.
I just, repeated what I saw on Twitter. It had already been tweeted out by some people up there that Frank Martin. That's why when I saw, what's his name, Schmidt from St. Bonaventure, that he was going to be the guy, I thought to myself, what happened with Frank Martin in that deal? But now it looks like that deal's coming to fruition. So, one door closes, another door opens for you. And
I think it's a great
Frank
hire
Martin
for
will get
UMass.
his chance.
Yeah, I think it's a really good hire for UMass. Good to see Frank get back into business. As good as he was on television this past weekend, it's fairly obvious, and he told you as much Monday. He does not want to be a television analyst. That guy still has coaching in his blood, and this will be a good opportunity, I think, for him. That at a school with a lot of good basketball tradition, hasn't been all that great of late, but I think this is a really good hire by UMass.
Yeah, Pete Thimel, according to a source, Frank Martin has emerged as the target for UMass. He met with UMass Tuesday. The sides are expected to meet again in person on Thursday. So that seems to be moving in that direction. And so I think tomorrow we'll have the press conference. If the Board of Trustees signs off on everything, say by around 12:30, USC can throw a press conference together. Of course, they're already planning it, but they can notify everybody and give them, say, 3 to 4 hours. I would expect maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock tomorrow there'll be a press conference somewhere on the USC campus to welcome the new coach. Seeing here that USC guard Eric Stevenson has entered the transfer portal, John. Should there be a limit as to the number of times you can go into the portal, John? This will be his third, from Wichita State to Washington State to South Carolina.
I think so. At least,
and I gotta say that half in joking, but with some of these guys, it's like I'm here, now I'm there.
And what's the rush for Eric Stevenson? I get it. It's not the coach he signed up to play with in Frank Martin, but at least get an opportunity to meet with your new head coach at South Carolina before you decide, Lamont Paris is not for me. I mean, Lamont Paris may come in and blow him away if he had an opportunity to chat with him, but Eric's not going to give him that opportunity. As a grad transfer, he's going to move on and will be able to play again immediately as he steps on campus. But I think that may be one of the things when the NCAA, if it actually does start trying to impose sort of administrative work on college athletics, I think that's one thing they may look into is how many times you can transfer without penalty, grad transfer or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, or just use the transfer portal. After a while, you got to say, whoa, here, you just can't be transferring. I know we've given you a lot of freedom, okay, but you're abusing that freedom. And when you start to abuse it, then it's got to be restrained in somewhere. Don't you think, if it's becoming abused?
I agree, and I think that's one thing that's going to hurt college athletics moving down the road. I've actually heard a guy who does a radio show from a rock station perspective, but a big sports fan, and he was talking about he's lost interest in college basketball in particular because it's hard. You don't know the players anymore. I mean, they either end up at your school and then advance on to somewhere else, or they play a year and go to the NBA. There's so much turnover in college basketball anymore. Go back through your memory. Gamecock fans, think about this. Right off the bat, tell me every player that was on the USC roster this year without one in front of you. I mean, there were so many transfers into that program, it's difficult to do. And Carolina is not alone in that regard.
Well, you know that Lamont Paris is going to build his roster
exactly
through the transfer portal, John. Maybe Eric Stevenson will transfer back to USC through the transfer portal, John. So with the Gamecocks, he was a good player. He wasn't the great shooter that his form would lead you to believe. I always thought he had beautiful form. But in 31 games, he averaged 12 points, about 5 rebounds. He shot 37% from the floor, 33% from 3, 98% from the line. He was fabulous. He didn't get to the line much because he didn't drive and attack the basket very much. But he had those are some pretty good numbers. There'll be somebody out there willing to pick him up, no doubt about it. So in his career, 2 years at Wichita State, he averaged 6.5 points, then 11 points, and then at Washington for a year, 9 points, and then at South Carolina, right at 12 points a game. So he's a good player. He can certainly help you with his shooting. He's a volume shooter. He's a guy that's got to take shots to – this will sound stupid, but he's a guy that's got to take a lot of shots to score a lot of points. There's some guys that can score a lot of points. They don't need as many shots, if you know what I mean. He obviously needs to take shots. For his career, he has never shot 40% from the floor. The highest he's ever shot from the floor in a season is 38%. Now maybe some of that's because he shoots a lot of threes. You know, he shot 180 threes for South Carolina this year. He made 60, so he made a third of them. He shot 124 at Washington, and he averaged 162 threes in his 2 years at Wichita State. So he's not driving and getting fouled. The most free throws he's ever taken in a season were 83 when he was at Wichita State in his second year. So it's going to be a lot of that. He's the first of what will be many announced transfers out of USC. These guys don't wait around. You said, why don't you wait for the new coach to come? They're not waiting around. They're getting their name out there, and because they realize the spots for transfers are going to be limited. And you got to go get what you can get, which makes the space for the high school kids even more limited.
Well, I get the supply and demand side of economics, and I understand it here too. There's so much supply and not nearly enough demand. So every player that is in the transfer portal gets scrutinized, much the way you were if you're going to invest in anything. When there's less supply and a lot of demand, prices go up. And that's going to be the case here. On the flip side, where you have a lot of supply and very little demand, then maybe you're not as needed as you might think. So I get why you jump in early, but I still don't understand why you wouldn't at least wait. I mean, they're going to have him on campus by this weekend. It's not like 4 days. I don't think it's going to make that big a difference.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I truly don't disagree with you. I mean, give the new guy a chance.
Sure.
That's what I don't understand about today's kids. It's not about the school anymore. It's not about the academic opportunities anymore. It's about where can I play and play right away. I mean, it really is become, I think, the number one item. And number 1B is where can I make my NIL money the most and the quickest. Back in a moment.
It's almost time for the Palmetto Sportsman's Classic. I know we're excited.
Me too. I'm going for all the awesome camping gear.
Not to mention they have everything I need to get out on the river.
I'm looking forward to it. I can always find what I need for my outdoor adventures.
Don't miss the Palmetto Sportsman's Classic at the State Fairgrounds, sponsored by Farm Bureau Insurance, March 25th through the 27th. Purchase your tickets now at psclassic.com.
See you at the Classic.
Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
They didn't give up 10 runs in the top of the first against Winthrop. They gave up.
That is a good start.
And the Tigers had the bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the first.
I thought it was nice, and I thought it was nice of Clemson last night to go ahead and eliminate and remove all doubt about that game last night. You didn't have Tiger fans have to worry about whether or not they're going to win. When you're down that big, you can pretty much go to bed after the third inning of play.
I'm going to use the ESPN pronunciation of Winthrop. So Clemson and Winthrop. Well, let me double up on that. The ESPN pronunciations for both Clemson and Winthrop, the worldwide leaders. All right, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. 2 your phone calls in just a second. Since 2002, more than $174 million in lottery proceeds have been used to purchase, maintain, and fuel over 2,000 school buses in South Carolina. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at southcarolinaeducationlottery.com, sceducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Speaking of winning, we're going to have a winner here in a couple of weeks of our basketball bracket challenge. I don't think any of us are eligible, and we're not going to win anyway. I mean,
No.
We're just not going to win. We're not eligible. Family and friends and relatives, anybody we've dated, anybody that we have, I don't know, what else, spoken to, not eligible, not eligible. However, there are others who are eligible, and the winner's going to get some great stuff. When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite basketball team at Dave & Buster's? They've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Dave & Buster's. Game days are the best days at Dave & Buster's. How do you say no to great food, drinks, games, and sports all at once? And you'll see right now every tournament game, every buzzer beater, every upset, every slam dunk. That's a win at Dave & Buster's, and we'll be giving away free passes to Dave & Buster's. We'll be giving away a couple of tickets to the upcoming Cup race at Darlington, and perhaps some other good stuff as well. So, it's too late to enter. We've already, closed our competition, but somebody, as went over the standings last night, somebody's going to win, Pat. It's not going to be you.
No, it's definitely not going to be me. I appreciate you not telling people what place I'm in right now. I'm not very proud of that. No, I'm teasing. But I do have a question for you, Corn. I had this pointed out to me, a friend that I mentioned, hey, enter into our pool, try to win these tickets. Great event. Why not? They entered into the Sports Talk SC 2021 by accident. So I got curious. There are 5 of our listeners who have actually somehow entered our group from last season.
How's that possible?
I don't really understand exactly, but it shows the bracket of this year. So right now, the poor guy who's in first place in last year would actually be in 8th place this year.
You lose for being stupid. And you can't fix
Pay
stupid.
attention.
Ain't that right, Chris? You can't fix stupid. As
No,
somebody
indeed.
famous once said.
Pay
Can't fix
attention.
stupid. By the way, here's our ticket giveaway. You're going to get 4 tickets to the NASCAR Throwback Weekend Cup race at Darlington, May 8th. $150 gift card to Dave & Buster's. Good at any Dave & Buster's location. That's first place. We've got second place prizes. $100 gift card to Dave & Buster's, good at any location. 4 tickets to the Columbia Fireflies home opener. Special thanks to the GM of the Broadway at the Beach, Dave & Buster's location, our man Steve Carr. All right. To your phone calls we go, 888-898-2525. We're making it simple, speaking slowly for those, I don't want to say morons, who entered the wrong bracket. That might be a little harsh. So we're speaking more slowly for them. How could you enter the 21 bracket? It's 22. It's 2022. Let's go to Andy in Columbia. He's probably one that entered the 21 bracket. Andy, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I haven't entered any of your brackets, and I'll tell you what, my money's on 100% of them are Clemson alumni or Clemson fans, but that's just my opinion. Okay?
Come on, man.
Okay, I got a basketball thing and a baseball thing I want to touch on. Mr. Paris, before he got to Chattanooga, he wasn't an assistant at Chattanooga, right? He was just an assistant in Wisconsin, correct?
Correct. Spent 7 years in Wisconsin.
So now with Frank going to UMass, that means the 2 head coaches he's replacing have become the head coach at UMass.
That's correct. You know what? That is a fantastic trivia question.
I was going to say that, but, Corn, I knew you wouldn't be able to answer the question.
Matt McCall was the guy at UMass who was at Chattanooga, who did a nice job at Chattanooga. That's why he got the UMass job. And you're right. He's going to be following the guy, if Frank gets that job, following the guy that went to UMass twice. Pretty cool.
Well, what happened if he did such a great job, what happened the first year Mr. Paris came in and they sucked so bad?
Well, from what I understand, it was a very young team when he got there. Apparently, they lost a lot of people. And it was a very young team, and he tried to do some things the Wisconsin way those first couple of years, realized it wasn't going to work, and decided, I got to do something different, changed up his offense, changed up his recruiting philosophy, and turned it around.
So let me throw another curveball at you. So why is the Wisconsin plan going to work itself?
That was a fastball down the middle that I hit out of the park.
So why is the Wisconsin plan going to work at South Carolina if it didn't work in UT Chattanooga in the Southeast?
Well, he's not going to use the Wisconsin plan. He's going to use his
That's
plan.
what everybody's saying. That's what everybody's talking is that he is bringing the Wisconsin plan to South Carolina. And that's what South Carolina bought. Okay,
well,
that's what I'm hearing.
I don't know what he sold to Ray Tanner. Maybe he will refer to his Wisconsin background. Maybe he thinks that'll work at a bigger program in a Power 5 conference when it wouldn't work in the Southern Conference in attracting a different type of player. But you look at his roster, and, I mean, he filled it up with some good players that, I don't like to call them rejects, but they were guys that had issues in some cases, like the guy from Kansas who transferred. Remember, he was the guy that was kind of caught up in that FBI mess at Kansas, and he found a home at Chattanooga, and his best player was a transfer from Wright State. The guy that hit the bucket that beat Furman was a 5-year guy. He had been there.
Let's quit talking about that. That reminds me of Darren Horn, so let's not go back there, okay, of hitting a bucket to get in. But one last basketball thing, and then I'm going to move to baseball. You know what the biggest thing that would hit a home run to me would be? Gigi goes to UMass with Frank. That would show.
Gigi goes to UMass with Frank?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be something pretty
well, if he loves Frank, that much.
And the family loves Frank.
If you love Frank, you go where Frank goes.
Yep. Baseball. 10 years after being in the national championship game series, and we're at a team that's 10-10. That's what, 0-4 on the road right now. Coming up playing the team that we're probably going to be 10-13 after this weekend.
Oh, come on now. You thought you were going to get swept by Texas, and you took 2 out of 3.
Well, maybe they'll follow what I just said and follow that same path, But let's all be realistic. Everybody chased Frank Martin out of here because our basketball team was so bad. And this and that. My God, does our baseball team not blow? And is it not worse? Has this program not been decimated in the past 10 years? And is Kingston not one of the worst coaches you've ever seen? And let me ask you this question. Is Ray Tanner going to turn his back on Mr. Powell up there in North Greenville when we have to fire Kingston this year? Because he doesn't have big-time Power 5 experience? He better not. That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much.
Kingston didn't when he was
Hank,
hired.
I'm sorry. Andy needs to go root for the women's team. He needs to get more behind the women's team in South Carolina. We'll find out more about Lamont Harris coming up after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with showers continuing until the morning. Our overnight low is 59. For Thursday, mostly cloudy and the rain should clear out early in the day. A mix of sun and clouds later in the afternoon and a high of 66. Friday starts a run of sunshine-filled days that should carry into next week. The weekend looks wonderful. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. 1 month into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, fire rained down on a shopping mall and high-rise buildings in Kyiv as the outnumbered Ukrainian military waged intense battles to defend the capital and other key cities from falling under Russian control. NATO estimated on Wednesday that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the war started February 24th. Also Wednesday, the U.S. made a formal determination that Russian troops have committed war crimes in Ukraine, as Russian attacks have left destruction across the country. As one woman put it, quote, "People are being killed day and night," unquote. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 448 points, the Nasdaq dropped 186, the S&P 500 lower by 55, oil up to 114.93 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
When it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories, some things are changing. Well, fortunately, some things haven't changed a bit. I'm talking all about Shooter's Choice in West Columbia. What has never and will never change is the customer service. Top notch with the staff that has decades of experience in the firearms industry. This staff actually hunts and shoots regularly. For over 30 years, Shooter's Choice has never lost that hometown feel and never felt like shopping at some big box store. What has changed? Well, technology. If you'd rather spend your money on firearms than gas, go online to shooterschoicesc.com and check out a great website that's easy to navigate 24/7. Be the first to get items as they are received at the store. Be the first to get that newest production model ordered before it even enters the retail store. Come pick it up at your convenience. Sign up for notifications of new products and special inventory. It's all at shooterschoicesc.com. So come on in and see the team at Shooter's Choice, 944 Sunset Boulevard, or visit online. Either way, you'll see what I'm talking about. Make your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Well, I drive a truck for a living. I don't get hardly any exercise. I'm not kidding you now. I'm not easily sold on anything, but I'm a firm believer in this product. You know, I watched those advertisements for 2 or 3 years and listened to the radio going down the road, and I said, something's got to be going on with that product for that many people to do ads for them. And I'll tell you what, I just uptown a while ago, I told some of my buddies, I said, I'm not BSing you, man. I'm not kidding you. It's amazing. It totally amazes me.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code BALANCE.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is, so here's what I do want. someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help Mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
Everybody, Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblutz, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel on this busy Wednesday night. Get back to your phone calls here in just a few minutes. Big day in the Palmetto State tomorrow for South Carolina basketball. The new coach will be introduced not too long after the Board of Trustees signs off on the contract, and Lamont Paris will officially become the new head men's basketball coach of South Carolina and the first African-American head coach of a major men's team at the University of South Carolina. So some history-making moments there upcoming for South Carolina. Our pleasure to welcome into Sports Talk the longtime voice of UTC, the Mocs, Jim Reynolds, who has watched Lamont Paris from the sideline up close and personal for his years there in Chattanooga. And he joins us now here on Sports Talk. Jim, great to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry to see Lamont Paris go, but you could see that his coaching track was going to skyrocket, especially after this year. So congratulations, Coach Paris.
Yeah, you know, at schools like UTC, Southern Conference schools, let's face it, all those schools at that level, those coaches, as much as they love being there when they're there, when they get that opportunity to step up, that's what it's all about for their careers.
Oh, for sure. I've seen it happen many, many times with Will Wade, who left Chattanooga to go to VCU and eventually to LSU, you know, and Matt McCall, who preceded Lamont Paris, left Chattanooga to go to UMass. So I've seen it many, many times. I'll say that.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. Don't know if this has dawned on you if you've been following the news, but somebody just mentioned it on our show that so Lamont Paris followed Matt McCall, who left to go to UMass, and now Lamont Paris is following Frank Martin, who's supposed to be going to UMass. If that works out there, so that's kind of weird that he'll be following the most recent two coaches hired up there by UMass. What is South Carolina getting here in Lamont as far as from an X's and O's standpoint, watching him very closely as you have? What are they getting here?
I'll say this, and I used to joke with Coach Paris and just say, not only is he the most patient coach I've ever covered, but he's the first patient coach I ever covered. Because he came in here and they were a mess. Not to say anything bad against Matt McCall, but they had 6 seniors that all left, concluded their eligibility before Lamont Paris came in. So Lamont Paris, his first year, had the youngest team in the nation. Out of 358, he had the youngest team, and they kind of suffered through. There's no question about that. I think jokingly he was asked at a preseason conference meeting one time. They said, "You were picked 10th. What do you think about that?" He goes, "Well, the only reason we were picked 10th was because there was no 11." So I mean, and he had a plan on how he was going to do it. So he patched something together the first year, recruited a bunch of guys, and had one of the younger teams in the country his second year. And if you take a look at the trajectory that he had, his third-year team, fourth-year team, and fifth-year team were all very, very good. So he had a game plan. I think the thing that stands out about Lamont Paris with me is he never gets too high and never gets too low. And it's amazing. Allegedly, one of the reasons he was hired here in Chattanooga was our athletic director at the time, David Blackburn, who's now at East Tennessee State. But David was watching Lamont Paris, who's an assistant coach at Wisconsin before he came here. He goes, he was watching Wisconsin was making this trek to the Final Four, and there was a key play in the last seconds of the game. I don't know if it was Final Four or not. And everyone else is jumping up and down, and Coach Paris immediately, started doing something to plan the final seconds of the game or whatever it is. And the athletic director at the time said, that really impressed me. And he is one of those guys that keeps his head when everyone else loses theirs. He's not a guy that's too high or too low, like I said. He's not one of those guys that gets on officials all the time. He's not one of those people at all. And interesting, I would say, on just his personality, everyone in the league likes him because after a game, okay, and I've seen a lot of coaches that could not handle this. After a game, coaches will come up and they'll talk, an hour after game, after they've done all their media obligations, they'll be standing and talking about the game that just concluded, win or lose. And a lot of coaches can't handle being friends with the guy that they just went to battle with. 2 or 3 things about him. So many times, if you know a little bit, as you alluded to about the Southern Conference, there's a lot of high-scoring teams in the league this year, including the Citadel. And I would ask him about tempo before games like that. He was never one that said we have to dictate tempo or we have to slow down the Citadel or VMI or those teams that really scored a whole lot of points. So tempo was never really his thing. He's a guy that he would say, my mark I put on defense and I let the players do a lot on offense. So that's why players liked him as well, because he gave them a whole lot of freedom on offense if they can handle it. And this year's Chattanooga team certainly could. But as far as defense, that's where he really coached up the defense and was more involved in that. On offense, obviously they ran plays and all that kind of stuff, but he gave his players a lot of freedom to do that. And the third thing I'll say is, and I said this, I was on with the Illinois network before Chattanooga played Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the Wisconsin model, and Lamont was an assistant coach at Wisconsin for 7 years, Wisconsin didn't always get the McDonald's All-American guy like other guys in the Big Ten or whatever, but Wisconsin was always good. So I think Lamont Paris has recruited and did so in Chattanooga. He, did it here the same way he did in Wisconsin. Not always the most highly recruited guy, but he kind of knows what he wants and usually does a pretty good job of figuring out how those pieces can fit to make a team a winner. And that may be the perfect scenario for South Carolina, because I'm not sure, can South Carolina go in that same living room? He's not going to out-BS Bruce Pearl, and he's not going to talk about Kentucky. He's not going to do that. But I think he can find the right pieces of what he wants to fit into his master plan to make it all work.
Visiting with Jim Reynolds, voice of UTC, about Lamont Paris. South Carolina fans for 10 years were used to seeing a particular style on the sideline in Frank Martin, which was, pretty much his own style. And it kind of stood out the way he would deal with his players during games. What about Coach Paris? How is he in dealing with the players during games? Is he a yeller? Is he an instructor? Is he a backslapper? How would you describe him there?
I would say he's not a yeller for sure. Now he'll get it. He'll get in them a little bit, on a particular thing, or if they missed the defensive assignment. But like I said, he's a backslapper to some degree, but he's not really that rah kind of guy. He's just, and I don't know what staff, if any, but I would think some he would bring with him, but they mesh pretty well together, and he delegated a lot of stuff. I think you'll be impressed about his demeanor, because again, he's just a guy. He's in control. You can tell he's in control. You can tell who's in charge. You can tell who the players, listen to and respect. But I think part of that respect is mutual, because he gives them so much freedom to do some of the things and let them really take advantage of the best of their game, and then helping them in areas where they need help.
Jim, looking at the recruiting side of the coin for Coach Paris when he comes in here, I look back at some of the guys he brought in when he was or at least helped bring in at Wisconsin, and we're talking about some outstanding talent in Nigel Hayes and Sam Decker and certainly Frank Kaminsky. Now, when he went to Chattanooga, he realized he may have to change his recruiting style a little bit and went more transfer portal and got a guy like Silvio De Sousa from Kansas to help fill in some voids there. When he comes to South Carolina, not having really roots here in the state and certainly in the Southeast, how do you think he'll acclimate himself to try and recruit high school players, or do you think he'll continue to lean heavily in the transfer portal?
I think the transfer portal is so much a part of the game now, even more than it was when he first got here. So I think that whole landscape has changed, whether you're in Chattanooga or Columbia or wherever you are. So I think his philosophy was a little bit of both. Obviously, you want to start with freshmen and recruit freshmen and guys you don't have to re-recruit. But there have been a lot of players that have come and gone. I think he did a pretty good job of recruiting. The Silvio De Sosa thing came very, very late. And the reason that occurred is he had friends on the Kansas staff. And Silvio was looking to transfer late. I don't think it was really announced. I don't think it really came to completion until August. But that became because he had contacts. And I would say this: he does have a lot of contacts. He knows a bunch of people. So I think that will help him. And especially in this day of the portal and transfer, I think just the more people you know, and recruiting's always been a contact, a personal thing. Yeah, he will have to open some doors. There's no question in South Carolina. But I think when he gets that garnet and black shirt walking in a high school gym or an AAU tournament, I think that usually gets some attention.
He was in a league in the Southern Conference that no other league around the country shot the three-point attempt any better or more attempts than anybody in the Southern Conference. And UTC last year was about a 35% three-point shooting team. How big of a must is it for him to be able to have guards that can shoot the three, even big men who can step back and shoot the three? And how much do you believe, as efficient as the Mocs were this past season offensively, how much does he rely on the three-point shot?
Well, I think what's good about him, and I asked him about this a couple of times, what's good about him, he's going to go with what the players can do. Because I remember before Chattanooga played Furman, and I remember I'm doing the pregame interview, and I'm talking to Coach Paris, and I said, now, Furman loves the three more than you guys do. He goes, no. Furman loves the three more than our players do. He goes, I love the three. So if you ask Lamont Paris, do you like the three? He loves the three. But he had 2 or 3 guys that really excelled in doing that, and he let them shoot most of it. But it's not like he got mad if someone had a wide open look. You're talking about Silvio De Sosa, who was a 6'9" power forward guy. Silvio De Sosa left wide open, could knock down a three on occasion. And Lamont would say, and Chattanooga, and this was true, they did a pretty good job of shot selection. So if you get that trust, he will let you shoot from where you need to shoot. And I think he really likes the three-pointer, but he's going to adapt that philosophy into what his player, what the benefits of the players can be.
Jim, from what you know, I don't know if you've talked much with Coach Paris since all this went down, but maybe from what you've heard, what you can gather, besides the fact that it's certainly a step up the coaching ladder, why did he want this South Carolina job?
And, you kind of mentioned this earlier. I think you get to the point in the Southern Conference, and many have been there. Mike Young at Wofford, I'm sure, you guys are aware. When Mike Young was at Wofford and they had won 5 Southern Conference championships, you go into the tournament a couple of times and pulled off the upset or 2, you do get to the point of, okay, what more can I do? What needs to be done? What more can I accomplish? So aside from, I don't know, doubling or tripling your salary, which I've never experienced that, but I heard it must be a neat thing. Financially, it's great. Can you? That means you guys have experienced that, so I'm unaware. But can you win a national championship in South Carolina? Obviously, they prove that they can in baseball and women's basketball and other things. So I think every coach wants that opportunity to say, I have a chance to win. I have a chance to win it all. Now, we have the resources. Resources will not be my problem or my holdback. So I think you asked Lamont Paris, did you like Chattanooga? I think he would say he loved Chattanooga, and he loved this year's team. One thing I thought was really neat, I'll just mention this, he went out of his way many, many times to say how much he loved this year's team. And you could tell, and I ride the bus with him a lot and that kind of thing. So they liked each other. He liked them. They liked him. So it really was a good situation.
Last thing, we'll let you go. Talking with Jim Reynolds, voice of UTC, about Lamont Paris headed to South Carolina. What seems to be the word around Chattanooga about who's coming with him, anybody off the staff who might be considered as his replacement, and any rumblings about any UTC players that might want to join him in South Carolina? Anything like that you've been hearing?
I haven't heard, one-to-one, face-off to face-off. I haven't heard those things. But one of his assistant coaches, Tanner Bronson, was with him in Wisconsin. And Tanner's the guy he leans on a lot. Mm-hmm. Also, you guys might remember Eddie Shannon, who played for Florida. Eddie's on the staff here. Eddie was originally on the staff with Matt McCall, went away and then came back. So I know he and Eddie are really tight. And David McKinley has done a really nice job. I think, I don't know if Tanner may be the guy of that staff that would be up for the job here. I'm not sure. I think I don't know what's going to happen to Malachi Smith, but Malachi is a guy that went through the NBA draft thing last year specifically. Now, he knew he wasn't going to go through the NBA draft, but Malachi Smith is Chattanooga's best player.
Mm-hmm.
Malachi declared for the draft simply to get evaluated by NBA scouts and that. He is really sharp, and Malachi Smith could play in the SEC. So whether he goes with Coach Paris or stays here, I don't know. But I can say that would not shock me if that occurred.
We can't thank you enough. Great stuff. We are looking forward to meeting Coach Paris tomorrow at the press conference when they said it, which we expect to be tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. Should be an interesting ride with him at South Carolina. And good luck to you guys at UTC. And we appreciate you and continued success in your very short career. I mean, you're so young in what you're doing. So I hope you have a nice, long, successful career.
I'm week to week, so we'll see if I can make it another week.
Hey, same here. We all
Gotcha.
are. Thank you
Thank
so
y'all
much
for having me. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Jim.
I love working with Coach Paris. He's a winner.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Jim Reynolds, voice of the Mocs. I love going to Chattanooga, except I've gone that way to go to Nashville, and you always get caught in traffic there, trying to go around Chattanooga coming out of Atlanta down 75, and then you take 24 around Chattanooga.
You know,
It's
as
a
big a
nightmare.
history buff as I am, Phil, that is one of the cities that I have never visited and long wanted to. I love Chattanooga, Tennessee, and would love to get an opportunity to check it.
They really
go up
do
there and
have a
check that place
choo-choo.
out.
They really do have a choo-choo in downtown Chattanooga. Be right back.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
To Mr. Reynolds for joining us here on Sports Talk about Lamont Paris. And if I had a chance to talk more with Jim Reynolds, I would recommend to Jim that he vacation here in the great state of South Carolina. And when he vacations here in the great state of South Carolina, that he goes to the Grand Strand. When you go down there, you call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty, and you let Jimmy set you up at a great location. Whether you want to rent something for a weekend or for a week or a month, or maybe you want to make it permanent, make it a permanent thing and buy something at the beach. Let Jimmy Smith and the great folks at James Smith Realty do the work for you. You just let them know what you want, and then you forget about it, and they do the work, and they come back to you. 843-237-4246, or visit Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. That's Pawleys Island. That's Litchfield. That's over in Surfside and Garden City and all those areas. Again, James Smith Realty, Jimmy Smith, 843-237-4246, Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. All right, Clemson off to a better start tonight. They're up on Winthrop 5-0 in the top of the third inning. Tigers 5 runs, 4 hits, no errors. The Eagles, no runs, 1 hit, and 2 errors. You know, the Tigers, they had 5 home runs last night. I mean, that's overshadowed by the fact that they got beat as badly as they did, but they did hit 5 home runs last night. 2 of them, of course, by the man from Latham, Mr. Brewer. So they've gotten a 2-run single by Corbett, a 2-run single from Engel, and they scored on a fielder's choice and the throwing error. So the Tigers are up 5-0. Let's go to Tiger Bryan in Lancaster. We get back to your phone calls. Rest of the way, we'll have plenty of time to work in your phone calls. I know we lost some folks who were holding once we hit the interview. You can rejoin us now. You have our permission. 888-898-2525 is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Tiger Bryan in Lancaster. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Man, how y'all doing?
Man, doing great. Doing great.
I'm going to tell you what. Hey, I'm going to tell you what now. I told Pat a while ago, I said, look, if I had to have a softball team, you'd be my designated hitter because, hey, you knocked it out of the park on that ball a while ago.
Out of the park? Well, I did hit.
You knocked it out of the park, bro.
I did hit a home run in high school.
You won the game.
I hit a home run in Greenseed Field like they're still talking about.
Yeah, you done a good job, man.
Thank you.
And you know what? Hey, there's 3. You pulled one of my daggum sayings out a while ago. You can't fix stupid. I had 3 sayings. Listen to this. Happy wife, happy life. Don't let the clothes fool you. And you can't fix stupid. That's my 3 sayings. All right.
Is that how you live your life? You base your life on those 3 sayings?
No, listen to me. If you can't fix stupid, you're not going to have a happy wife and a happy life. Oh, you ain't going to, you can't. I mean, I'm country as I can be.
Yep.
Yeah, but I come, up at Clemson, I'm going to have Tiger Bryan on the back of my shirt. I'll be in lot 2.
Lot 2, Tiger Bryan on the back of your shirt.
Well, no, I'm going to have your chicken wings if you ready, or adult beverage if you want one.
You gonna dress in orange?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got to do. All right, man, I'll be. Yeah, what you think I'm gonna dress as?
I just.
Okay, I wear Clemson every day, corn blue.
Now long before Tiger Bryan came along, there was a guy on this show named Tiger Wayne. You ever heard of Tiger Wayne?
I remember. That's before I started calling in.
Tiger Wayne used to go up and he had to climb a telephone pole to call us because he lived out in the country near Greenwood. Didn't have good reception, didn't have good phone service. This was before cell phones. So he would climb, I think he actually climbed a pine tree near a telephone pole, and he would call in, old Tiger Wayne. He was a great Clemson guy. I went to his funeral. I actually went to his funeral. They dressed him up. I want you to listen to this now so you'll know when your time comes. They dressed him up in Clemson overalls there at the very end.
Yeah. Hey, my son just graduated. He's an engineer. He lives in Eastleigh. That's why my birthday is Sunday after the spring game, and we he's either here in Lancaster at my birthday, because I was born on my birthday and married on my mother's birthday.
Wait a minute, you were born on your birthday? Okay, got it.
I was born on my daddy's birthday.
Oh, your daddy's birthday.
I was married on my mother's birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. I done that because, you never forget anniversaries or something, you know what I mean?
You don't have any cousins that married each other, do you?
No, hell, no. Come on, heck, no. Come on now.
I'm just wondering. I mean, y'all sound like a really tight family.
No, but listen to me. Hey, the saying, don't let clothes fool you. I have a knot in my pocket everywhere I go. 2 knots. One $100 bills and a pistol in the other. You know what I mean?
What was that other one? I heard the $100 bill. The other one was what?
A pistol. I mean, I got my. Yeah, I'm a deputy sheriff up here. Yeah. I got my right. Yeah, hell yeah.
They give you one bullet.
That's my sheriff. I tell him, he's Gamecock man too. He don't like man. I got Clemson golf cart. He's got Gamecock golf cart. You know what I mean? Yeah.
They give you when you're on call for the sheriff's department. They give you one.
No,
bullet.
I don't work there. That was a bull. That was a joke. I got my license to carry a gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Your CWP. You've got your CWP.
Yeah, I am. My wife is. My kids are. I mean, you got to be what you got to be nowadays.
I'm telling you. All right, Tiger Bryan.
Tell you what.
Hurry.
Let me say one more thing.
Yeah.
Hey, the whole time I listened to you, me and you had a little hard head where we bumped heads 2 times. Hey, but you the man. I got your back anywhere you go.
Thank you, Tiger Brian. And knowing that you carry a weapon makes me feel that much better that we're protected, knowing that Tiger Brian's on the call. All right. Thank you, TB. We'll continue with your phone calls coming up after the top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Allied leaders are gathering in Brussels to discuss what to do in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Just before leaving for Brussels, Mr. Biden was asked what he'd tell Allied leaders in Europe.
I'm going to say that to their face. I'm going to say all I have to say, I'm going to say when I get there.
He also said he was concerned that the Russians would use chemical weapons against the Ukrainians. The Salem Radio Network, parent company of Town Hall News, is working with 2 major nonprofit organizations to rush food, water, and emergency supplies to millions of Ukrainian refugees. More information is available at srnnews.com. The third day of hearings on the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court continued with questions from members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Member Lindsey Graham quizzed Jackson on illegal immigration.
Do you believe illegal immigrants should be allowed to vote, Judge Jackson?
Under our laws, you have to be a citizen of the United States in order to vote.
So the answer would be no.
It's not consistent with our laws, so the answer is no.
Madeleine Albright, a child refugee from Nazi and then Soviet-dominated Eastern Europe, who rose to become the first female U.S. Secretary of State and a mentor to many current and former American statesmen and women, has died of cancer. State Department spokesman Ned Price says Madeleine Albright's impact is felt throughout the department.
A trailblazer as the first female Secretary of State, and quite literally opened doors for a large elements of our workforce.
Albright was chosen in 1996 by President Bill Clinton to be America's top diplomat. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 448 points, the Nasdaq dropped 186, the S&P 500 down by 55. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
The credit card debt happened when my daughter was born. I was using one credit card account to roll over into another credit card account, and it was snowballing.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
When I first called Trinity, the representative understood the need based on the situation. They were great people to work with. From the first phone call that I made, they had me on a track to mitigate the credit card debt.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
Working with Trinity gave me the ability to save thousands of dollars. My name's Doug, and thanks to Trinity, I'm debt-free for keeps.
Call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Iran was the subject of a high-level meeting between 3 Middle East countries. We hear the latest from the Media Line's Michael Friedson.
The leaders of Egypt, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates met at the Red Sea resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh on Tuesday. The official communique said topics were food security and the energy market, but not missed was the formalizing of a Mideast axis standing in opposition to Iran and rejecting the nuclear agreement Western nations are preparing to sign with the Islamic Republic. Tension between the U.S. and Gulf states has grown in recent weeks as a result of the Mideast nations refusing to be pulled into the Russian-Ukrainian war. Middle East nations are aghast at Washington's plans to drop the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's classification as a terrorist entity. I'm Michael Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with showers continuing into the morning. Our overnight low is 59. For Thursday, mostly cloudy and the rain should clear out early in the day. A mix of sun and clouds later in the afternoon and a high of 66. Friday starts a run of sunshine-filled days that should carry into next week. The weekend looks wonderful. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Talk Media Network across the state of South Carolina. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Shame on us. Should have mentioned this earlier, but we got caught up. Ed Conroy going back to the Citadel as the head basketball coach. And they'll have a press conference tomorrow, but they announced that today. The Citadel did. So you can go home again. He had success as the coach there. Of course, he was an outstanding player for the Bulldogs way back when. And so he's going to go back and see if he can, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Duggar Balcom did a terrible job at the Citadel. He had some good players come in there. I mean, some really good shooters to play in his style of offense. You know, it's just, I guess, being so limited in the kind of player you could get to go to the Citadel and playing in that style of offense where they just lived on the three and lived on the fast break. I mean, hard to be able to, and I didn't see him very much, but I imagine it was, from an athletic standpoint, hard to, the more talented teams, hard to stop them defensively when you needed to get some stops and win a game defensively instead of relying on your shooting. If you're off, you're not going to win those games. So Duggar's a good coach, and I'd imagine somebody is going to pick him up and let him continue his coaching career. But, yeah, Ed Conroy going back to the Citadel. What do you think?
I think that's really, really cool. And going back to a school, he knows how to sort of transition Citadel into a winning program. The problem is that may be one of the most difficult athletic jobs in the country because of what you just pointed out, Phil, especially basketball and football, having to get this certain person. There's one thing about going out and recruiting any athletes, but you have to get a certain person to be able to go to the Citadel and excel down there, not just with regards to academics, but what they have to do in their military service and also on the basketball or football field. I mean, it's a difficult job, and it's not made any easier by being in one of the best G5 leagues in the country. I mean, the Southern Conference is as good a mid-major league as there is. We just heard from Jim Reynolds at UTC earlier talking about how talented that league is from top to bottom, and that's another struggle the Citadel's got to deal with when two of the better teams in the league are in your own state, in Wofford and Furman.
If you missed that interview with Jim Reynolds, we'll have it up on the website later, sportstalksc.com. And, of course, everything we do is in podcast form. You can find our podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. So anything that we do that is interviews or recordings of media sessions that we think are really interesting that you want to hear again in a podcast form. And, of course, the show is put in podcast form every night as well. So, you know, when you're out walking around, taking a hike, maybe out for a jog, cutting the grass, I don't know, whatever you're doing and you like to listen to podcasts, then we suggest that you hit us up there and catch the stuff that we have here. Let's get back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. And coming off the baseball field for the third straight night, Keith in Camden. Hello, sir. Welcome in. How was baseball?
Man, I tell you what, it was a good practice, and I told them, I said, guys, if we have a good practice, we're going to get out of here early, listen to Phil, Chris, and Pat. And that's the reason I'm catching y'all a little early. But if we were 10-10 and blew a ball game in the ninth, we'd be out there to 10 o'clock tonight.
Well, here's the thing about baseball, and you're a parent. You're now a manager, okay? So you're going to catch it. So you're a coach. You get your team into the ninth inning. You bring in the guy that has sort of been your closer, and you ask him to get 3 outs, and he doesn't perform well, and you lose the game. And yeah, you're the coach. You're going to catch the heat, but you did everything. Did you not? You did everything you were supposed to do to get you in position to win in the last at bat, but your guy didn't get it done for you.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's 1 out of 100 based on this year's performance. But,
Gamecock baseball right now for this year is really at a crossroads because you're right. They're 10-10 coming off that loss last night. They've lost 4 in a row. You got Vanderbilt, 4th-ranked Vanderbilt for 3. And then, look, don't sleep on Presbyterian coming in on the 29th. Then a road trip to Missouri. Then you've got North Carolina in Charlotte. That'll be tough. 3 with Georgia at home. That'll be tough. And then after a game with North Florida, you get Ole Miss coming to town. So 3, let me see here. 3, 4, 7. You've got 10 games upcoming against ranked teams of your next 12 or 13 games. So you better lift yourself up and start playing better baseball.
Phil, Chris, let me throw this to y'all, and then I'll hang up and listen because I'm, at the end of the day, the hire is done on the basketball guy, and hey, I hope that he does well. But I just want to go back a minute. You look at the no exit strategy for Spurrier, number 1. Number 2, the debacle of everybody before we hired Muschamp. Number 3, Holston, which, look, you can't deny with that hire, nobody thought that was coming. It didn't work out. You look at the next baseball hire, I mean, who heard of him? Who were the other candidates? I mean, they were banking on Sullivan, okay? Then you look at the debacle with Frank last year, we're going to get rid of him, we're going to keep him. And then this year, you decide to get rid of him, and you look at the landscape of basketball and all the extended contracts. At the end of the day, being a great salesperson doesn't mean you're going to be a sales manager. And I just go right back to Tanner and say, at what point are we going to hold him accountable based on his track record? And it's just, look, I mean, it's not good. D+ at best. But who holds him accountable? President, Board of Trustees? Who decides and evaluates him?
Well, he answers to the president. He doesn't answer to the board. I mean, that's the way it works. He answers to the president. He doesn't answer to the board. But the board, of course, can make your life a living hell. And they can also interfere with what you're trying to do. I can't argue with anything that you're saying. I mean, look, Steve Spurrier wanted to retire at
2 years.
Yeah, well, at least at the end of the season before he actually did walk away, but they talked him into staying. They convinced him to stay another season. His heart wasn't in it. The team wasn't going to be that good. He knew it. He was ready to get out of it, but he stayed. And then, of course, they had the embarrassing walkout that wasn't good for anybody. And then you had the search for the new coach that apparently focused on Kirby Smart, and Georgia apparently got the sense of that, and they moved Mark Richt out quicker than expected so they could go ahead and get Kirby Smart. And then, of course, there was Tom Herman involved with that situation as well. Looked like that was going to happen. And they ended up with Will Muschamp, which, for the first 2 years looked okay. And then, of course, it went downhill from there for a variety of reasons. And then you had the next, for the next search, the one that ended up with Shane Beamer. See, I'm not so sure with that one that there was ever any, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe my memory is off. Was there ever any true front runner for that job as he was, he interviewed Satterfield up at Louisville. He interviewed, a lot of people thought Napier, maybe Napier was at one point until Napier was turned off by what he was told about what he wasn't going to get in the football program, that he wanted more money, more people on the recruiting side of things. And I remember being told by a source then that he wasn't going to get that, and so he pulled himself out of it. They interviewed the OC down at Florida, and of course they interviewed Beamer. And right now you'd have to say even better than Muschamp in that he had a winning record in his first year. Muschamp had a losing record. He won the bowl game. Muschamp lost the bowl game. But internally, I think Beamer is just doing a lot of really good things based on what we can see and hear. I mean, I'm not indoors with them at all, but from what I can read and hear and see, it certainly sounds like it. And I do talk to recruits who go through there, and every single one of them love their visits. Of course, everybody's going to love their visits, but I mean, I think they truly love their visits. And I think they truly at South Carolina now have, listening to the coaches today. And if you heard Shane Beamer on our show last night, if not, it's on our website and it's on our podcast areas. But his assistant coaches are loyal to him, and they talk about him as being the reason for why they're moving forward and why they're going to have success and why things are changing. That's what you have to do as a loyal staff, is to build up your head coach so that people around the country want to come see this guy and talk with this guy. That's what happened at Clemson with Dabo Swinney once he got his people together, and they all vowed loyalty to Dabo Swinney, and everything that Clemson did that they did well was because of Dabo Swinney. And that helps you in recruiting, and it helps you in developing the persona that you want across the country.
Absolutely. Well, I always just feel like he's a day late and a dollar short, Ray Tanner, but that's just one opinion. And hey, love the show. Y'all have a great night.
All right. Thank you very much.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. What do you think, Chris?
Well, it's interesting you referenced there was not necessarily a front runner for the job to replace Will Muschamp, but I think the alumni and certainly the former players would say, yes, there was. And it's the guy we ultimately hired in Shane Beamer. Now, that's why I'm a bit surprised that Ray Tanner didn't necessarily, sort of dovetailing off of that coaching search with football, did not listen once again to the former basketball players and bring B.J. Mackey in. Because I think in some regards it's almost a similar circumstance, isn't it? A assistant coach with no head coaching experience who was beloved by his his fellow teammates, and guys like Melvin Watson evidently went directly to Ray Tanner and said, "I want B.J. Mackey to have this job." The same way that guys like the Swearingers of the world and whoever else called Ray Tanner about Shane Beamer wanting him to come in, and Ray Tanner listened for whatever reason it appears to the former football players, but maybe didn't listen wholeheartedly to the former basketball players when he went out and hired Lamont Paris. Not saying that Paris is going to be a mistake. It just, I find it curious that it's so much different after the coaching search and the hire of Shane Beamer.
Paris might have just blown him away in the interview.
It may very well have. And we'll find that out tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to, if the press conference is tomorrow, hearing what he says and his vision for South Carolina basketball, because I think that'll be one of the more interesting and important press conferences that USC has had on the athletic side in a while.
All right, let's go back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is the number. We go to Hank in Columbia with us next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Hank. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn.
Yes, sir.
Corn, I want to come from the opposite side of that caller that calls in every night wanting Ray Tanner fired. And this is my thing. I don't know why y'all don't really explain some of the things that Ray Tanner has to deal with in regards to these folks that want him fired. You mentioned the thing about Steve Spurrier wanting to leave, right? Before before his last year, right?
Correct.
And it didn't work out well, right?
Correct.
Now, Mike McGee, who's always been revered as one of the very, very good athletic directors here, correct?
By some.
By some, yeah. Just like Tanner. And he made the same mistake because remember, Lou Holtz wanted to leave and Mike McGee convinced him to stay on. And it didn't turn out well, right?
Did he?
Yeah. Remember, Lou Holtz wanted to leave the year before.
I thought the plan was for him to leave and let Skip take over, but I think Lou decided against that, is my recollection. I could be wrong. I thought the grand plan was for him to get him going after about 3 years and step aside and let Skip take over. And instead, he blew up Skip's career by demoting him and blaming all the offensive woes on him.
And remember, McGee convinced Holtz to stay on an extra year when Holtz was, after we won, I think, one of the Outback Bowls, and Holtz wanted to go ahead and step on the side. But that happened. If I compare, you talk about these people and talking about, he take a swing and he missed at people. Well, when we hired Eddie Fogler, which turned out to be a great hire by McGee, right?
Yes.
But remember, Mike McGee was turned down by Calhoun from Connecticut. He flew Tubby Smith here from Kentucky. Remember, he had all the pictures of Tubby Smith walking on the tarmac, going back to get on the plane. He went after Calipari, who was at Memphis, and he went after Buzz Peterson, who was at Tulsa. So he got some people, but he took a bunch of swings and misses also, because that's what happens in any coaching.
Wait a minute. McGee hired Bobby Crimmins, and Bobby Crimmins, after 3 days, backed out, and the next day he hired Fogler.
Go back and pull up the stories, Con. McGee went after, Crimmins was before then. McGee went after Calhoun. There's stories with Coach with Jim Calhoun from Connecticut.
Which time? Are you talking about the time when Fogler was hired?
I can't remember. It was one of those times when McGee went after.
Well, I'm talking about what led to Fogler. What led to Fogler was Bobby Crimmins' flip-flop. And that came quickly after Bobby Crimmins did his thing. I'm saying within 36, 48 hours, you had Eddie Fogler.
Let your fingers roll. He had Calhoun in there. So McGee always went after some big guys that we didn't get also.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it seems like you all expecting Tanner to pick a name and go out and just because he's gonna go after.
Don't say you all. I'm not sitting here. Listen, I just sit back and watch what happens in these searches, and I think Dennis Gates was maybe the top guy this time, and Sean Miller as well. Some people are saying Sean Miller. I've been told Dennis Gates might have been the guy highest up on the list, on the want list.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
So,
I heard that Gates wanted to offer as soon as he interviewed.
And he didn't get it. And when Missouri came in, he went to Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's just think about it. I mean, I just hear a lot of people criticize Tanner for all kind of mess. And last year, the Board of Trustees, it didn't matter who it was. If the Board of Trustees was going to go rogue the way they went last year, any AD was going to be in the same spot with them. And if you, because ultimately they have to approve the contracts and whatever, and they approve either bringing in the president or getting rid of him.
Yeah.
But if you look at any type of this interview thing took about a week or a little bit over a week. You look at any type of process, and you're not interviewing one guy unless you're Auburn University. You're not interviewing one guy and that's it. You're going to bring in 3 or 4 guys and do it. I just don't see how people get on here and
we got to go. Thank you. I mean, look, I think getting it done in a week, and he got it done in a week,
is impressive.
Is pretty good. Yeah. He
no
got
doubt.
it done in a week, whether, he got number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 on his list. He got it done in a week. Some places got it done with one swing. I mean, I think LSU, as far as I know, only interviewed McMahon. I think that, Florida, as far as I know, only interviewed the guy they got from San Fran.
And speaking of Florida, Phil, and I'm beginning to wonder, because you brought up the point about Kirby Smart and Georgia cutting ties with Mark Richt so they could get Kirby Smart before South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beginning to wonder if there's a spy or a leak from the USC athletics department into Athens, because this is the second straight coaching search that Georgia has outmaneuvered, if you will. If Mike White was indeed potentially a target after Frank Martin was fired, would Mike White have come to South Carolina over Georgia? But instead, Georgia cuts ties with Tom Crean quicker than South Carolina did, so they get their guy before, even the conference tournament's over.
Yeah, I'd never heard Mike White mentioned for South Carolina, because
I hadn't either.
Didn't realize at that point in time he was in such deep doo-doo with Florida and needed to get out of there before they showed him the door, apparently. So I don't know that was ever – I would say in this case, if you think Sean Miller was the guy, they got outmaneuvered by Xavier, because they fired their guy after winning an NIT game, and they're still in the NIT. They're going to Madison Square Garden. Be right back.
It's almost time for the Palmetto Sportsman's Classic. I know we're excited.
Me too. I'm going for all the awesome camping gear.
Not to mention they have everything I need to get out on the river.
I'm looking forward to it. I can always find what I need for my outdoor adventures.
Don't miss the Palmetto Sportsman's Classic at the State Fairgrounds, sponsored by Farm Bureau Insurance, March 25th through the 27th. Purchase your tickets now at psclassic.com.
See you at the Classic.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Clemson's up on Winthrop now 5-0. Bottom of the fourth inning. And Tigers with a 5-run second inning. So they are in good shape in this one. On the mound for them, Williams. He's gone 4 innings. He's allowed 2 hits. He struck out 2. He has walked 1. He's thrown 54 pitches. So he's in good shape at this point. Check on some other baseball in just a moment. You were telling me off air, Chris, that the NIT, the semifinals, are going to Madison Square Garden, and this will be it. They're not going to go back to the Garden in the future.
Reports out today are that the tournament will not be the semifinals and finals of the NIT will not be played at Madison Square Garden after this season. It was evidently a mutual decision between the arena and the NIT. I don't know where it's going to end up. You remember, I guess it was last year or the year before, they played it out in Texas because of the pandemic. They played the whole NIT, if memory serves, in one locale. But, this is a tournament that's been housed at Madison Square Garden since the 30s. And for it not to be there, I think the NIT is going to lose some luster on not having that as sort of its showcase to be able to go and play in the, what do they like to say, the most historic arena in the world, or the what's the title?
I think they just flat out call it the greatest arena in the world.
Yeah.
The most famous
That's
arena
in
the world. It is a fabulous arena. You know, one of the greatest times I've ever had in my career covering sports was the week up there with South Carolina in the regional semifinals and finals when they made their Final Four run.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they went from Greenville to New York to Phoenix. And that week up there was just huge because it was a huge event. Of course, in New York, every sporting event, unless it's the Yankees or the Mets or one of their teams, gets lost for the most part. Maybe not the Big East tournament when it was the true Big East. But this had some impact, obviously, being the NCAA tournament. And South Carolina had to play Baylor that first game there and won, and then played Florida on the deciding Sunday afternoon. And, I mean, the crowd, both nights, the place was packed. Paul McCartney was there on that Sunday afternoon, I remember. But the arena had been recently renovated before the regional got up there. And it was beautiful. I mean, what they had done to improve it was fantastic. It sits right there on 33rd and 8th, 33rd Street and 8th Avenue, I think, in New York, 33rd and 7th, something like that. And,
I've been in there one time for basketball. It was really, really cool.
Oh, you got Penn
really
Station
cool.
underneath. I mean, it's New York, and it sits right in the heart of downtown New York, and it is. I mean, you walk. What was cool for me as a member of the media is I got to walk in the same side entrance that all the big time New York media and all the players would walk in. We'd all go in the same entrance that has been used for decades there at Madison Square Garden, and it's just cool. There's just so much history there, obviously, and just a cool place.
Did you say Paul McCartney was at that game?
Paul McCartney was at that game.
So that's probably the only time that Darius Rucker has been in a building where he's not the most famous singer in the building.
It's a good point.
They are looking, to answer your question, they are looking at possibly going to Hinkle Fieldhouse, which is a historic building in Indianapolis, or perhaps going out to Las Vegas.
Seeing St. Louis as well. And next year would be the 75th anniversary of when St. Louis won the NIT. It looks like they have also submitted a bid. It looks like all bids are due by Friday, according to the NIT's website.
Maybe someplace in South Carolina. Maybe Myrtle Beach should bid for it.
Hey, how about Greenville? They do a
Myrtle Beach
terrific job with the
Myrtle
NCAA
Beach
tournament.
Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the way, speaking of New York, you mentioned this. We haven't mentioned on the air, but they've lifted the no vax, no play rule up there in New York, right? So Kyrie Irving is free to play.
Yes. Common sense is finally reigning in New York City. Kyrie could go in and watch a game unvaccinated and unmasked, but he couldn't actually play in one. But now he's going to be able to starting Thursday, and that may make Brooklyn a whole lot more dangerous when he returns.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be something to watch. Their record's not great right now, but they're going to be a tough out when it comes to the playoffs for sure. All right, we'll be back. We've got recruiting coming up and some quarterback comments from the USC and Clemson side of things. Be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cloudy with showers continuing into the morning. Our overnight low is 59. For Thursday, mostly cloudy and the rain should clear out early in the day. A mix of sun and clouds later in the afternoon and a high of 66. Friday starts a run of sunshine-filled days that should carry into next week. The weekend looks wonderful. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
When you think about spring, good stuff springs to mind. You know, like spring break. Woohoo! A friend springing for drinks.
Thanks, dude.
A spring in your step. Spring fever.
Oh, behave.
And best of all, spring water dough pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers.
Yeah, baby.
Experience the taste of spring with our amazing hand-tossed pies, spring fresh salads, and over 100 beers from around the world. Enjoy spring at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Reporting. NATO is estimating that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers have been killed in a month of fighting in Ukraine. A senior NATO military official said Wednesday that the estimate was based on information from Ukrainian officials, what Russia has released, intentionally or not, and intelligence gathered from open sources. The official spoke on condition of anonymity under ground rules set by NATO. Ukraine has released little information about its military losses, and the West has not given an estimate. But President Volodymyr Zelensky said nearly 2 weeks ago that about 1,300 Ukrainian servicemen had been killed. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 448 points, the Nasdaq dropping 186, the S&P 500 lost 55, and crude oil up to $114.93 a barrel. This is SRN News.
We all want to eat healthy. But have you ever read the ingredients list off of your favorite snack? Between the hard-to-pronounce ingredients and man-made additives, it's difficult to find anything made from real, natural ingredients. Even some of my favorite organic snacks have ingredients I haven't heard of. At Balance of Nature, we know the value of real nutrition that can only be found in real food. That's why the only things you'll find on our ingredients list are real whole fruits and vegetables. No additives, fillers, or artificial ingredients of any kind. Balance of Nature is the best whole fruit and vegetable product on the market, delivering your body everything it needs to function at its very best. Eat better and feel better. Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code BALANCE.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Oh, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted Best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net, or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often, to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street downtown.
Update some baseball besides the Clemson game where the Tigers are leading over Winthrop 6-0 now after 4. See, the Tigers just added another run, and Brewer gets the ground out to the first baseman RBI. So Tigers up 6-0. Mississippi State over Southern 10-1, bottom of the 4th. Kennesaw State beating Georgia Tech 9-3 after 4. Miami over FAU 1-0, bottom of the 4th. Alabama UAB scoreless, Memphis Ole Miss scoreless, and Louisiana Tech LSU scoreless. All right, now recruiting coming up in a moment. First, some comments from USC quarterback Spencer Rattler. Has been running with the first unit throughout the entire spring practice at this point after transferring in from Oklahoma. Of course, expectations are very high for him going into this season, based on what he did at Oklahoma. And the thing for him is just working and picking up the offense and learning to work with the new guys that he is dealing with. He met with the media earlier this week, took some questions about things going on in spring practice.
Shane and Sat were both talking about last week, just how much sort of you've sort of gotten in with guys in the quarterback room and taken that role. I guess just, I mean, you've been a guy waiting in the wings before. You've kind of been in that position with guys like Luke and Colton and everyone else. I guess just what's that been like, working through that with those guys? And I guess just having been in that position yourself, I guess how much perspective does that maybe give you in order to sort of, get acclimated to those guys and sort of balance that with trying to win a job and everything that kind of comes with that?
Yeah, I think you just be natural, be authentic. We all have a good time when we're hanging out in the QB room, workouts, anything. We all live together. So, I mean, it's just like a natural feel. Like we're all competing, of course, like trying to help each other, make each other better. But like if I have any tips for the younger guys, I'm going to give it to them and try to help improve their game and vice versa. If they see anything that I could work on, I'm open to anything. So we're all very close. We all have a good time on the field.
Hey, Spencer, Braden with Carolina News and Reporter. I'm working on a story about kind of local businesses getting in the NIL game. And I know you partner with Jim Hudson, a local car dealership here. I was kind of wondering, with all like the national brands you've been getting, what was the draw of like a local business? What kind of led you to kind of get local and work with city businesses?
Honestly, it just kind of came when I got up here. But other than that, NIL really isn't my focus like that. But
Spencer, outside of the obvious with just being with a different team, what's different about you in comparison to maybe a year ago after everything that you went through and then, knowing that, the hype that there was going into the season, the lows, and then being able to get back and on your feet and moving forward? What's different about you this spring ball around?
I just feel more mature on the field, like with how my preparation, how I'm going about, things I want to improve in my game, all different types of areas, but I'm still the same me, still got the same mindset, confident, ready to attack. And that's been my mindset the first 3-4 practices and going to be my mindset going forward.
Good. Sat talked a little bit about you in the huddle. First of all, how much huddling did you do at Oklahoma, and what's the trick to kind of commanding the huddle and really adjusting to that this spring?
We did a little bit of huddling, just, on the goal line and stuff, but not too much at Oklahoma. It really took me like a day to get used to down here. I've been in the huddle before. I know how to communicate well, and it's just really how you got to be really precise, really smooth your communication and how you call the play and break it down. That's one thing we always like to focus on, is just getting a clean clap, getting the sharp clap coming out the huddle, and having urgency up to the line. So I feel like we've done a really good job with that so far.
So how detailed does Sack get with you for having a clean clap? Is that something that he really talks about?
Yeah, he'll get mad if it ain't right. You know, I've seen guys, you know, come out the huddle sloppy, and you know, nobody likes a sloppy huddle, you know, being broken down, because like that leads to a negative play. Like, it's just, you want to be sharp, you want to be clean, you want to be organized. So that's what we focus on.
Does he let you call guys out if you're not pleased with how it's broken? That's
Yes,
something
sir.
y'all do.
Yep.
Yeah. And your receivers that you've gotten to work with, you kind of talked about them last time you were in here, but now that you have 3 practices with those guys, who are any individuals that you have been impressed with?
Yeah, Josh Van, I mean, he's made a lot of big plays for us. Me and him got a great connection. Zay, he's doing a great job. Jaheim pulled his hamstring, but he looked good that first day. A lot of guys stepping up. I mean, EJ looking really good. AB, got to get the chemistry down with him. And we're just working with everybody, you know. Antoine Wells looks great, you know, so everybody looks good.
Spencer, Oklahoma's kind of had a reputation for being able to produce a lot of offensive linemen that go on and play in the league. So having been in a program that's had that level of talent along the front of the offense, just what have you noticed about the guys that are protecting you here so far? And you know, how do they just sort of stack up to maybe what you've seen in your collegiate career so far?
Oh, they've done a great job. I mean, most of the time it's been a clean pocket, you know, these first 3 practices. And I understand we're not going full speed hitting the quarterback, but, you know, from what we see on film, it's been a clean pocket. We try to keep that U shape, that coffee mug shape, keep that pocket clean. And those guys have done a great job. I mean, it starts with E-Doug up front in the center. He's doing a great job leading those guys. And, you know, we got our first scrimmage, I think, Saturday. So that's when we'll really get to see. But so far, it's been great.
Spencer, I know it's spring and, you know, probably just getting the basics in, but how much are they allowing you to freelance, so to speak, when you're out there to take off and run or call your own number?
I mean, that was the reason why I chose to come here, you know. Chose to come here, my bad. Just having that option to play free and attack. Like, that's what Sat told me the first day. He's like, just be you. Just be you. So went out there and did just that. So these guys are looking good. They make my job easy. And when I can just put up the ball to them and they go get it. And sometimes you got to call your own number, run, get out the pocket, make a play to get it to somebody open. And but it's
Spencer, this offensive line, this offense in general, kind of gave up some pressures last year, some sacks. How much can adding a guy like you who's played a lot of ball and having a guy like Eric at starting center who's played a lot of ball help kind of clean up some of those issues that you guys had last year?
Yeah, I think a lot of the sacks, I think we looked at the stats. A lot of the sacks were, you know, I think on the QBs, a lot of them running out when they could have stepped up. And, you know, I've caught myself doing that too, you know. But we just got to rep, stepping up in the pocket, having that pocket clean. And then if it ain't there, just tuck it and go or get out and make a play, but never just run backwards and get tackled. So we're going to get reps of it. We're going to clean it up. And I'm positive that it'll be good.
All right, some Spencer Rattler from earlier this week. By the way, he was later corrected by Shane Beamer, who said they are not going to have a major scrimmage on Saturday. That'll be next Saturday because they got the coaches clinic coming in this weekend. They want the coaches to see more of their fundamental work and how they do things in various groups. So they're not going to do the major scrimmage first one of the spring. This Saturday, it'll be next Saturday. Okay, some DJ Uyanale coming up momentarily. But let's tell you about the recruiting news of the day, brought to you by Seawells. A reminder, Seawells is not open tomorrow. So make your plans accordingly. They have a private function going on, I believe. So they'll be closed to the public tomorrow. Open back up again on Friday. So we can only dream for an extra day, Pat, about what is going to be coming our way on Friday. It looks like an RBF kind of day.
It most certainly is going to be an RBF day for you. Carved roasted sirloin of beef, along with southern fried chicken and fried pork chops. Then, of course, if you want a salad, get a salad, along with all the different side items and fixins and dessert.
Sounds good. That might be a meal that Mr. Bergen would drive in for.
I would definitely. I don't need a reason to drive in for Seawells, but that would certainly whet my appetite to get me over there. At least point my car in the right direction. And as soon as gas prices go back down to where there's normal, it will be a lot more cost efficient because the buffet is so cheap.
Yes.
It's not a problem cost efficiency. The problem is getting to Columbia from here.
And it's only $12, and it's usually Monday through Friday, with a rare exception, 11 to 2. And of course, for over 70 years, they have been providing the best service in the catering business for people all around South Carolina. Their phone number is 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So today, let's begin with this. Offensive tackle Olaus Alanen of Finland in Connecticut was down south last week to check out Clemson, Georgia, USC. He began at Clemson, then went to Athens, then over to Columbia before heading back up north. And he had, visits were great, and all three of them. Of course, football is relatively new to him personally, though his dad played in the NFL for a little bit. So he's learning, and he had a good time at Clemson, saw the whole package there, watched them scrimmage, talked with Thomas Austin, checked out the campus facilities. Clemson's going to be in the hunt with him. Came to Columbia on Monday. The Gamecocks were not practicing. Got a chance, however, to talk with Shane Beamer and to Coach Atkins and some of the other coaches, and really enjoyed his time there. Said that he was really impressed with how they welcomed him to the facilities and welcomed him to South Carolina. Saw the business school, and he met with some professors, saw the dorms, had a really good experience at South Carolina as well. So they're in the hunt too. He has also been to Southern Cal and Ohio State. This weekend he's going to Alabama, and no other visits are scheduled. Kansas, Rutgers, Cincinnati, LSU, Auburn, Florida State, and Missouri are some other offers for him. Now, Shane Beamer put out his commitment alert today, in which he said, quote, you ready for the second one this week, Gamecock Nation? Question mark, end of quote. That's how he put it. No one has claimed that commitment tweet just yet. So that's two that are pending out there for the Gamecocks this week. Now, Arkansas State transfer receiver Corey Rutker wrapped up his official to USC today. We spoke with him before the show. We'll have a story up later on the website. And he said he is not committed, and he's going to take an official visit to Utah State beginning tomorrow. He's a Mississippi native. He's been unofficially to Ole Miss, Auburn, and Texas State. He did have a really good visit at South Carolina, he said. Loved it. One of the highlights for him was on his way out of town today, going to the airport, they stopped by Dawn Staley's house. And he got a chance to visit with Dawn Staley, which he said was really exciting. However, a couple of things that South Carolina might have to overcome. Number one, Ole Miss is the in-state program. He's from Mississippi. Of course, they have a highly acclaimed passing attack, a hotshot quarterback. Texas State is the new home of his quarterback of the last two seasons, Lane Hatcher. According to a source, Rutker is very close to Hatcher and his family. And third, his former head coach at Arkansas State, Blake Anderson, is the head coach at Utah State. So there's connections there with those other schools. We'll see what happens. USC offered defensive tackle Connor Knight, 6'3", 275, Trussville, Alabama. Defensive tackle Xavier McLeod of Camden tweeted today he plans to visit LSU. He was at USC last weekend. USC target offensive tackle Oluwatosin Babalade was offered by Louisville.
Nicely done.
I was going to ask you, how'd you like that?
I did. I liked it a lot. And did you say that Dawn Staley was still in town today?
Yes.
Surprised the Gamecocks aren't already in Greensboro.
Yeah, still here.
Interesting.
Still here. USC Clemson target linebacker Pup Howard, offered by Penn State. USC target defensive tackle Jordan Hall, offered by Alabama. Clemson USC target defensive end Kelby Collins, Alabama today. And 2024 offensive tackle Blake Franks of Greenville visited USC. 2024 defensive back Zion Mills of Greenville plans to visit USC Saturday. 2024 quarterback Jaden Davis, a Clemson USC target, offered by Texas. Athlete Ja'Cory Martin of Southside Christian and some teammates visited USC Tuesday. 2024 receiver Mazio Bennett of Greenville and some teammates also were at USC Tuesday. 2024 offensive tackle Cam Pringle of Woodland was at USC yesterday. According to Jamie Shaw of Rivals, Auburn was in today to check on 6'10" G.G. Jackson of Ridgeview. USC offered 2025 linebacker Gavin Nix of IMG Academy. USC target offensive lineman DJ Chester was offered by West Virginia. Clemson and USC target tight end Reed McKeska was offered by Florida. There you go with the recruiting report for tonight, brought to you by Seawells. Of course, our recruiting information in the written form is available for you on our website, sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. If you like it in the verbal form, like if you want to hear the Corn's voice, like putting you to bed at night, you can listen to our recruiting report in podcast form. Just ask Alexa to play Corn Recruiting and see if it works. I don't think it'll work, but you can try.
Just like a bowl of tomato soup, folks.
We'll be back. DJ Uyangale.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
What does the 50th anniversary of Title IX mean? It means I'm valued, I'm empowered, I can do anything. It means I'll pave the way for every girl who plays high school sports in the future, just like every female student, coach, official, and administrator plays the trail for me. Because every student deserves the opportunity to play. Encourage girls you know to participate in South Carolina high school sports.
This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Well, the Clemson football team is on spring break. They'll be back at it first part of next week as they head down the stretch. By the way, I saw a story today from the state newspaper that for the Clemson spring game, they will not be doing two of their most famous traditions. This is by Alexis Cubitt, who covers the Tigers for the state. It says here, because of construction of the new video board, Howard's Rock has been temporarily moved out of the stadium, so the Tigers will not rub the rock running down the hill. And it's been moved inside the football complex for safekeeping. In fact, the whole area is closed down so the players won't get to run down the hill before the spring game. So I hope that breaking of tradition doesn't, bode poorly for the Tigers. $65 million in changes being done to the stadium, and they should have everything back in place by the time the Tigers have their opener at home against Furman September 10th. 7,166 square foot video board going up there, which means it won't be long before South Carolina puts one up.
No doubt.
That is 7,167 square feet and costs
Did Dabo
$66 million.
I was going to say the $65 million project. Did Dabo just cut a check for that?
He actually just
loaning.
He's loaning them the
Yes.
television he has downstairs in his house, and they're putting that up as their video board. So DJ Uyangale earlier in spring practice met with the media, and we hadn't gotten to this yet, so I thought it'd still be good to play. First thing he was talking about, he slimmed down. And the guys, the media, they asked him about the slimmer, trimmer model of DJ Uyangale.
After the season, I went probably the Iowa State game. When I went back home, I was eating a lot for a good bit. I was eating. I'm like, dang, I gotta lose some weight. I knew that was one of my main things. I just wanted to get a little lighter. I was just on my knees and stuff like that. I just wanted to lose weight. But I probably lost right now, probably 20, 25 pounds. So what do you have? Right now, 240. 240.
Is that where obviously that's where you want to try to stay, I guess?
Probably get down a little bit more. Probably 235, maybe 230. Just to keep going. See how much. So.
How's your knee feel? How's your finger feel? Injuries okay?
Injuries good, yeah. Knees getting better. Knees getting almost 100%. Fingers 100%. Everything's been going good. So.
Dabo said he had talks with you about wanting to see you lose some weight too. Just what are those conversations like? What sort of prompted that?
I mean, for me, it was like, yeah, I knew I wanted to lose some weight. Just wanted to get down. I mean, but like longevity-wise, career-wise, you want to be able to like, I know you kind of see like the TB12 diet and stuff like that, where you want your body's like a temple. So like you want to be able to like treat your body like a Ferrari, like stop putting fast food in myself, like stop eating fast food, and like try and treat it like a high engine car, like a high fancy cars, kind of just put like good stuff in your body. And then that's what I've kind of been doing, working out twice a day, eating right, been on a meal plan, been on a meal prep, is eating the right foods.
So what are you not eating right now that you were eating 2 or 3 months ago?
Like for the most part, cut down portions, and then I kind of got on a meal prep. So I had like meals shipped to my house, and like for lunch or dinner, I eat breakfast here, and I kind of just have like a calorie, kind of just good stuff, like just small portions for the most part.
So no more In-N-Out when you go home?
Nah, no more In-N-Out, no more Jack in the Box, no more stuff like that.
No animal style?
No more animal style.
No Bojangles?
Bojangles, I mean, right now I'm cutting it out just for a little bit, just kind of coming out. But in moderation, I'll eat it sometimes. But I think the biggest thing for me, I'm a big sweet tooth. So I like eating ice cream a lot. And I think that was one big thing. I cut out eating all sweets.
Did you do any off-season work away from Clemson, like out west or anything?
Yeah, I had to work with some guys out west called 3QB. Just working up, just fine-tuning stuff that we work on here, and just be able to work with some guys out there that I know, some quarterback dudes.
What did Dak Prescott say to you? You got to work with him a little bit?
I didn't get to see him when I was out there in Texas. Oh. He was there later on. I was in the morning group. I was working out with some other guys, but I didn't get to see him at that point. I didn't get to talk to him.
What areas are you working on? What are you working on the off season to improve on?
Oh, this stuff that me and Coach Trinity went over from the season, different stuff like throwing on the run, platform stuff, making sure my feet are underneath me, shortening up my stroke, being more consistent, just being off balance on just different platform stuff for the most part. Me and Coach Trinity, we kind of went over in the offseason things I need to get better at, and we had brainstormed to talk about stuff I thought I can get better at, he can get better at. We came up with a plan, and I kind of took that stuff because in college you can't work. Quarterback coaches and coaches can't work with you in the off season, so that's something that's the rule where it's like kind of like a bummer. Like in high school, you can work with your coaches all year round. In college, they can't bring you out here on the field unless it's a practice and work with you. So that's one thing. I know a lot of college athletes go to different places, like in their back home, like a quarterback coach, and just work on different stuff because your quarterback can't work with you. So came up with a plan, and I took it to 3DQB with my boys TK, John Beck, and Adam, and we just worked on that stuff for the season.
So I guess Streeter gave it his blessings, and y'all are doing the stuff that he.
Yeah, no, everything. Yeah, everything. Me and Streeter talked about with footwork and different stuff. Just become this throwing stuff. I took that to 3QB, and we went over. We had to set up a plan, and we went and we executed that.
DJ last year was kind of a roller coaster, some ups, some downs. You finished on a high note, although you had through the injuries. Where's your mindset right now? How do you feel about your confidence and your ability to kind of do what you've always done?
I feel like my confidence is at an all-time high. I feel like it's been at the same spot where it has been my whole career. I'm just ready to go out here and just compete, continue to get better each and every day, man. Just take it one day at a time. Come on, take one rep at a time. Just be able to be a leader and just be a great teammate for my teammates out here.
All right, comments from DJ Uyangalale from earlier in spring practice. I wanted to get to this story that I'm just coming across. Adidas took a significant step for a major brand in the NIL space, announcing a sweeping deal today to create a NIL network to enable more than 50,000 athletes and 109 Adidas-sponsored schools to become paid brand ambassadors. The announcement, it says here, was universally celebrated. Isn't that misleading? When you say universally, that means everybody, right?
Correct.
I don't know. Did you celebrate it? I didn't celebrate
No,
it.
and Adidas is not one of the more dominant shoe wear and apparel companies in college athletics.
No, it says here an important moment in the long, complicated relationship between apparel companies and college sports teams. That's true. But broader implications hinge on the terms of the deal. This was written by On3, of course, which is up to its eyeballs in the NIL stuff anyway. So Adidas said its program will begin in phases, scheduled to roll out with HBCU and Power 5 schools this fall. Athletes at other schools are expected to be able to take part by April of 23. Athletes will have the opportunity to earn a percentage of sales they drive at adidas.com or the Adidas app. They will also be paid per relevant social media post. But Adidas did not disclose how much compensation athletes may receive. The one thing I wanted to mention here too, this was mentioned to me by a basketball coach last week. You know, South Carolina's with Under Armour. And this coach told me, he said, South Carolina's got to get out of Under Armour for basketball. And now I don't know how much of a difference that makes in the minds of the prospects, but I've heard this before, that the prospects don't want to wear Under Armour in basketball. And I don't know if it's because of the comfort or the durability, or they just want to have the swoop, or they want Adidas. But this guy who knows basketball players, he's a coach. He said they got to get out of that Under Armour deal for the basketball program. It really hurts them in recruiting. Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, Nike's got such a sort of hammer and cast such a big shadow over college basketball. I mean, if you can go to Nike, but the problem is you can't just leave one sport to go to Under Armour and stay at everything else.
They've got that long-term deal. All right. Thank you, everybody. We got to run. See you tomorrow. New coach in town. Talk about it then. Have a good night.
Outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.